Good evening runners, and welcome back to another video from me, that running girl. In today's video I'm going to be reviewing the Mizuno Neo Zen running shoe and talking you through my experiences running in this shoe in a 5-mile tempo run and a hilly run. I will also be comparing it to the Asics Nova Blast 5 because I've run in this shoe for a long time now and I feel like there are some definite parallels between the two shoes. So let's get into it. First things first, the weight of the shoe is really impressive. The Mizuno weighs in at 8.3 ounces, whereas the Nova Blast 5 weighs in at 9 ounces. But I'll be completely honest, when you hold both of them in your hands, they literally seem like the same weight. But I will say that when the Mizuno is on your foot, it definitely feels a little bit lighter. I use a site called runrepeat.com, which is a site that I always look up shoes on because I just feel their running shoe reviews are so thorough and they go through so many different checks and tests. And interestingly, the Mizuno Neo Zen on the bounce test came back at 71.7%, which is the same kind of bounce that you would expect in a super shoe with a carbon plate. But here's the catch, there is no carbon plate in this shoe. Similarly to the Nova Blast 5, there is no carbon plate. And I have the Asics Metaspeed Skies and I've also run in Alpha Flies. I know what carbon plates feel like, but I personally think the level of bounce and softness and energy return in a shoe like this and the Nova Blast are just more fun to run in, and I actually find them better in terms of they're not as injury prone. I have run so many marathon races where I see runners pull up at the side of the race and they have to pull out the whole race because Alpha Flies have ruined their race and they're injured. And I've seen people on Strava where they've been injured for like a month because they literally turned a corner too fast in an Alpha Fly or a Vapor Fly or a shoe with a carbon plate, and they're just ruined and, you know, have to take a month out of running. So that is why I stick to shoes that have a high stack height, softness all through the sole, and that's what we're going to get into now. So yeah, the bounce profile of this shoe is ultimately what attracted me to the shoe. I also really love the fact that it has this built-in kind of booty style. So even though it has like a lacing system, the lacing system is not how you put this shoe on. This shoe, ultimately, you sort of pull apart the stretchy mesh and you slip your foot inside that way. So it's similar to the Nike Lunar Epic in that kind of booty style, all-in-one sort of slipper feel shoe. I also really love the knit upper of this shoe. So again, similar to a Nike Flyknit, you have this knitted upper with loads of like mesh for breathability here. Similarly to the Nova Blast, which also has a mesh upper and breathability at the front. I would say that the knit upper on the Mizuno though definitely feels more lighter and more race ready than the Nova Blast 5. Another difference between the two, unlike a cushion stability shoe, the Mizuno Neo Zen has more of a kind of, you know, singular heel style. So it doesn't actually have a heel collar at all versus the Nova Blast, which has a much more structured heel collar and is a lot more, you can see the amount of padding in the Nova Blast there. I actually feel like when you put the Nova Blast 5 on, it feels literally like an armchair. It's just like the comfiest armchair ever. But whereas when you slip into the Mizuno Neo Zen, yeah, for people that have issues with, you know, their Achilles rubbing, you might have some kind of rubbing there. I personally didn't, but I wear slightly longer socks and I've never had issues with rubbing in that area. But if you do have issues with rubbing in that area, you might want to go for something with a bit more padding there. Suitability and performance of the shoe. I would say that the Mizuno Neo Zen is most suitable for tempo runs, race day. This is one of those really good shoes that you can almost do it all in. And I almost hate saying that because the last review I did, which was of the Asics Mega Blast, I absolutely roasted them for that shoe and trying to do everything in the shoe, but I didn't get on with the shoe, whereas I absolutely get on with the shoe, and I can definitely see me running 10 or 15 miles in this shoe on a steady long run, and then stepping this up to doing a 5-mile tempo like I did the other day in it, and even running a marathon in this shoe. I feel like it would be super comfortable to do all of those things in. Like I said before, the knit upper is like the Nike Flyknit. It is super comfy, but it definitely is a tiny bit hotter than when you have like an Asics Metaspeed Sky and you have like a mesh racer. It's obviously not engineered with the same lightness and coolness as a mesh racer, but as Flyknit sort of similarities go with the Mizuno, I feel like this is as light and streamlined as you're going to get for a knit upper. The one thing that I will say about this shoe in terms of being a bit of a negativity is it feels way less structured than the Nova Blast 5 or a shoe in like a similar profile. So these are both sold as neutral shoes, but I definitely feel like in the Mizuno Neo Zen, if you are prone to overpronation or supination, so if you either fall inwards on your feet when you run, or you fall outwards on the sole of your feet when you run, you will definitely feel this in this shoe. Whether that's something that you're going to need to correct with, you know, insoles, that's obviously personal choice, but personally I feel like there was a bit of kind of your feet kind of wobble about more in these shoes than they do in something like an Asics Nova Blast 5, where you feel a lot more locked in and a lot more of the sort of structure and support in that shoe. That could be down to the lacing system, because in the Asics Nova Blast 5, like I've said before in my review of these shoes, you have the sort of tighter eyelet lacing system here at the front, and then into a really nice lockdown here. Whereas in the Mizuno, like I said before, this lacing system ultimately doesn't really do much, because you literally put the shoe on by stretching this out here. And then, yeah, you basically just do this up for sort of aesthetic reasons. One thing that you do need to be careful with this shoe is when you do lace this up, if you're trying to go for a more tight fit, don't tie this up tightly, which I did the other day, because it kind of led to my toes feeling a bit numb and just not the best experience on a run. So if you're going for this shoe, I would definitely try it on first. Because of the way that the kind of all-in-one booty fits, you really need it to be an absolutely perfect fit, because you can't sort of compensate by tying this up too tight or having that too loose. If the sort of boot style doesn't fit you, then it just doesn't fit you, if that makes sense. But all in all, I would say that this is definitely going in my shoe rotation. I tried out this shoe because, I'll be completely honest, I get really paranoid about brands either discontinuing shoes or upgrading shoes, and then the next version of the shoe isn't as good as the version before, and then I'm scouring Vinted and eBay trying to find the old versions. So I really like to have different brands and different models that I can actually count on and pick up easily, so I don't have to be stressing that my favorite shoe is discontinued all the time. So yeah, this is also the first Mizuno that I have ever tried. I have been a Nike girl for 15 years and recently started trying Asics shoes again since they stepped up their game. So yeah, for this introduction into Mizuno as brand, I'm super impressed. Definitely think I would buy another pair of these shoes. The sole looks like this, which oddly enough, you would almost assume that you can feel like the sort of cutout area here when you run. I actually thought that I would sort of feel more on the edge of this shoe, given how much more, you know, there is here rather than in the middle of the run. But yeah, I felt pretty stable, other than, like I said, the sort of wobbling about because there's no heel counter and it's an all-in-one fit. But the sole of the shoe gives incredible bounce, and I have also read that the durability of the foam in this shoe, which is Energy NXT, compared to the FF Blast in the Nova Blast, is superior, which I'm really excited about, because I feel like when you put the Nova Blast 5 on, you start running in them, it is the bounciest thing ever, and lasts a number of weeks, maybe a number of months, but when it goes and you feel it. Whereas the Energy NXT, I have read, has been cited to last a lot longer than the Nova Blast 5 FF Blast bounce. So only time will tell how long that bounce will last. But yeah, super fun shoe, super bouncy, super soft, super squidgy. Energy to return is really, really good, and definitely bridges that kind of area between tempo runs, long runs, and even races. And that is something that I wouldn't say lightly. Like I say in all my videos, I have run for 20 years and I have run 32 marathons. So take my word for it when I am reviewing shoes. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you in my next video.